schedule. Should set up the next round. So I guess if I take this and just place that here, make that week 15, dates should update. This should go back to here. And that is report. I think that should all be updated automatically. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I can't believe last year I used to do this by hand. All right. I think things are up and running. Yep. We've got YouTube running and we have running. For a change, seems to be running all right. Well, welcome to Code Hangout number 142, where today we're going to look at integrating the puzzle metadata into our database. So in the last couple of episodes, we've pulled in the raw data. Then we've sort of normalized some of the raw data by figuring out duplicates and kind of decoding some of it. And then finally, last time, we pulled out a new version of the puzzle info. And I'm not sure if that's complete. And did we put that into puzzle info or puzzle info 2? I think puzzle info 2 is our backup, right? We put it into puzzle info and we pulled things out like the format. We have the JSON of the puzzle. We have author, title, counter ID, and solution value, right? Because these are kind of quality measurements. In the future, we might add more things there. All right, so what we're going to look at today are, and I'm going to make this a little bigger, probably this as well, are secondary sources of data that we can also use as signals to basically distinguish good puzzles from bad puzzles, right? The goal is ultimately to figure things out like, hey, these are all the same puzzle, or these are different versions, and this is the oldest, this is the newest, this is the best, this is the one we should be serving to people, yada, yada, right? But, for example, a solver might also want to say, hey, I have 26 copies of this puzzle, or I have 10 copies of this puzzle, and this is what happened. And here, there's a link to this version of the puzzle, and there's a link here to this version of the puzzle, etc., right? So, I'm going to write out additional sources of puzzle data. And that is, one, we have the counters, right? So the puzzle counters, unfortunately, because they are normalizing by username author, they don't tell us a lot about the different editions, but they crucially, well, they tell us two bits. They tell us about the count, the solve count, which can tell us something about, like if a solve count is 0, then it's more likely that a puzzle might not be in use, right? And I think I'm currently storing a date in there when the first count happened. So to be able to say, hey, counts over this period of time. So that is useful to tell us, okay, how old the puzzle is, right? So, for example, if a puzzle is really old and has no counts, maybe it's not linked, maybe it's not used, right? Maybe you can abandon it, etc. Secondly, we have... There are actually additional sources, but the second one is the analytics. The plausible analytics, right? And from there, we can get some things like counts, we can get some date ranges, we can get graphs. How much of that we can automate is questionable. They have an API, and that might be enough for what we need. I have been running scripts through their admin interface, but we can't really automate that generically. We can do something like doing a big batch job once a month or once a week or something like that, maybe, I don't know. Or we might be able to automate it through something like Puppeteer, but it might be a lot of effort. There are some additional ones like server logs, maybe. And server logs would give us much more fine-grained information about potential traffic sources. And they might tell us about exact timing. So, for example, one of the things, I think, one of the ways of distinguishing early versions of a puzzle that aren't in use, like in progress test versions versus the final version, might be that the test versions might only have had 1 or 2 visits a while back, right? So this is all we're talking about, filtering existing legacy data. This is not about new data. In the future, hopefully, once the database exists, we can do things like storing the first time we see this puzzle, storing more accurate log information, etc., generating puzzle IDs, and And ultimately, we want to do things like redirects, right? We want to, like, I have a puzzle with 27 short IDs. We want to acknowledge those, redirect those. But for example, short IDs that are never hit, let's say after 30, 60 days, we might just free them up, especially if they're the random type, you know? There was another source, I thought, but I can't think of it right now. So we have our analytics data. We have, oh yes, YouTube videos, right? So YouTube videos, so I used to, I don't think I do this regularly anymore. At least right now the script is a bit of a mess. But basically, since we are now caching information, we're not running it all the time, and you know the rate of new puzzles being added is more manageable once we do that. We could potentially have like a list of registered channels that we scan for puzzle IDs, because the YouTube videos might be a location where links to the wrong version of puzzles are. So for example, you know, somebody might release a updated or fixed version or like added a solution or whatever, but then they might occasionally still get a hit from an old YouTube video from somewhere that hasn't been updated, right? So stuff like that might help us to actually identify these older links and create redirects to sort of a canonical puzzle version, right? So let's say goals. Our goals are identify canonical puzzle version, collect all related versions of a puzzle. So we might want to find, hey, these are all the same puzzle, just different states of, and it's not just different states of development, but it could also be different versions. So for example, James Sinclair does usually 2 versions of his puzzles. So he does one with coloring and one without. Or many puzzles that have background images might have a version without the background image, because sometimes the background image might make it hard to solve. Or some puzzles with lots of iconography, emojis, symbolism, they might have a version that's a bit simplified, you know, things like that. So we basically, eventually I want to have like a screen for a puzzle where you can say, hey, here you can see the development versions of the puzzle, but you can also see the parallel versions, the versions that are all relevant, but that have different feature sets. Now, there's currently no way of automatically identifying what kind of puzzle they are, but hopefully this will be something where in the future the puzzle setter can then go in and say, okay, this is my enhanced version, this is the pretty version, this is the harder version, this is the colorblind version, friendly version, this is the competition version, yada yada, you know. This is the version for people who don't like certain assistive technologies, things like that, right? So we want to do these things. We want to do enable tagging and organizing of existing puzzles. Enable, and we also want to be able to say, okay, hey, I want the community to be able to provide hints for puzzles. I want the community to be able to flag puzzles, you know. One thing I've been thinking about lately is inappropriate background images, right? So probably background images in the future would have to go through a moderation queue. So puzzles might go live without the background image, and, you know, or even just ratings, like recently Gas did a NSFW puzzle. It would be nice to actually have an official meta tag for that, right? Enable moderation puzzle content. What else do we want to do? We want to do... Now, ultimately, we also want to have discussion, puzzle discussion, etc. Ratings, comments, and... Like, it's not just... It could be ratings also based on technical aspects, right? So, hey, this puzzle is incomplete, or this puzzle is... Like, I don't know, for example, hey, you can't solve this puzzle because the background image makes it unreadable, or, you know, it has a bug, right? Bug comments and issue reports, right? For example, I've had a report recently for a puzzle where instead of normal crop grid dots, they made white dots without a black outline, and they couldn't be seen. And it was reported as a bug in the software, but that's what the puzzle data wanted the user to see, and the setter might not be aware of it. So it might be nice in the future to be able to contact the setter and say, hey, or even just, you know, say, hey, this is obviously a crossbeat dot. Let's have a community version of the puzzle with corrections, right? Things like that. So let's jump right into it. This is quite a list, and I don't, we're not even going to get to a small version aspect of it. But the most interesting things today is I want to integrate, or at least do the import labor, because that's kind of what we've been doing lately, doing roughly the monkey work of actually bringing the data in, right? So let's have a quick look what our explore puzzles function did here last time. What were we doing here? Oh yeah, I think we were doing a double query thing where I was, so I was trying to count, okay, here are the puzzles of authors which have solutions, which have an author and a title, and how many there are, and things like that. What are all these question marks here? That's the name of a puzzle, yeah. So we also might want to start looking at data validation, right? Data validation, long, short, weird, data. Like puzzle, if somebody has a title that's just question marks like that, a long string, it probably shouldn't be. We might not remove it, but we might flag it, it might get downranked in any kind of discovery, because I don't want a beginner to see that first thing, right? All right, so the next step will be figuring out where we're going to get that data from. So the puzzle counters are currently, all right, let me see. So we are under Sudoku data, right? Under PuzzleDB, right? Now, currently the puzzle data is managed by the API, right? So if I go, let's say if I open up one of the NYT puzzles, right? And I go here and I look at count. Yeah, so this goes to the API, and the API currently doesn't get synchronized locally. So I need another Explorer window here. So we have the API, and we have DB, right? So let me look at what scripts I currently use for the API. We have the DB, I call it, I believe. Yeah, so this is where the counter stuff is. So let's run some scripts there. So first we're gonna do a backup, right? So we will do a fetch backup. I don't know what the fetch back here does. Oh, we literally have a back folder there. All right, so we want to fetch backup API. This seems to be a... okay, no, that's actually good. We probably should do that as well, but not right now. Fetch backup database. And DB here is just the counter stuff and the puzzle info that I've done for the API kind of a while ago. So let's pull it back up there just in case I screw something up. So it's 43 megabytes at the moment. It was never meant to be that big. Now let's just fetch the database directly as well. And I think we can fetch the cache as well. It'd be interesting to see what's in the cache. How big the cache has gotten. I don't remember what it caches actually. I don't even remember. Yeah, the cache might be big and it might be a problem. I might have to deal with that in the future. But the puzzle database hopefully will take care of a lot of that sort of stuff. Hopefully. All right, so let's see. Okay, 37 megabytes. Let's have a look at the code for the puzzle database. So we have an API, we have an API server. And I tried to make it bigger for the stream because I'm on a 4K monitor and it gets downsized to 1080p. Which might make things hard to see. But then I run out of space on my screen. It's too small, too big. So, let me see, cache. Cache. What does it cache here? Oh, it's for the thumbnails? Okay, thumbnail cache. All right. So that's not really relevant for us. Although puzzle database has also a cache. Okay. PuzzleDB. Cache sent. Yeah. I don't think I used the cache for the PuzzleDB. But we do have stuff here. What is in here? Are these... This is actual puzzle data. It's definitely puzzle data. Why is it caching it here? What exactly is it caching? It's just the puzzle itself. Probably this was before I had short IDs, so let's see how big this is. It's probably not in use. Yeah, 1,605 is definitely not in use. This might be used by third parties, so I gotta keep an eye on it. All right, 1,800 files. Not a big deal either. Of course, thumbnails and stuff like that will then also be part of the puzzle database. It'll make things so much easier. All right. That's the cache stuff. So, the database. So we basically want to pull that data in. I almost don't even want to open this. But let's just open it and see what happens, right? We can just remotely open it. Let's see. We're gonna minimize these big functions that just take up so much space. All right. Init b this. Load data. Boom. Experimental. Or explore. No, I can just minimize these directly, right? So, const load counter b. Braces here. Makes it a more, consistent look, which makes my simple brain work more easy. All right. If I do this and run that, kind of confused. Okay. So when we were originally creating the puzzle store, I'm sure we had to open files and dig through them and all that stuff, right? Create puzzle store. No. Load raw puzzles. So this is where we did initial. Yeah. All right. So we have files. And then here we're actually loading the file data. All right. So let's just raw load this in. And we should be able to just say, okay, we are in Sudoku data. I think we need to go down 1 because we're executing from this path, right? And then we'll go into api.SudokuPad.com or app.com/db/counter JSON. Right. Just load this in quickly. Right. What do we get? Okay, we get the raw data. Super simple. Is it an array? No. let's just get the first element here. All right, we have 38,765 different counter IDs. So that's already interesting because it's actually much closer to the number of puzzles we have than the number of short IDs we have, which obviously makes sense. And it could almost be complete because we have about 47 puzzles. And it's possible that we have about 10k duplications, right? Or counter ID matches, right? Yeah, that's pretty much all we need there. Now let's do the same thing for right. And just do that. Right. And let's do the same thing for the other file, which is counterinfo. Now, counterinfo, I don't know if it's an array or an object. Object dot entries. Okay, I think it's also an object. We can actually do a type off. Just so it'll tell us area object. We have this generic sort of type off. All right. Yeah, they're both objects. Okay. So what does this give us? This gives us the puzzle data and the first count date. So the puzzle data we may or may not care about. Probably not, because that's the data of the first request, right? So we could match this up with this exact entry in the database, but it would still count for all the other ones, so it's almost not relevant. This was something that was needed for the counter, but once we have the database, we don't need that anymore. So we want these kinds of information, and the numbers are slightly different, probably because this got started a bit later, and probably some of the early entries here never got that. So we need to just basically match these two up per counter ID, and we'll get that. Now, we pulled counter IDs into our info here. So what I don't know is if counter ID here is unique, because we could... So wait a second, this puzzle info will have an entry per actual puzzle data. Will it? Yes. So there might be overlaps with counter IDs, right? So the counter database almost needs to be independent. All right. So we kind of basically just want to merge these two together, and that's basically it, right? So we can just do this, and we'll just do something like this. Counter n equals this. And we'll probably do something like this. Right? Does that work? Nope. Node resolve home. If I do this, oops. We need OS. Fire OS. And that should get us that access. Alright, so then we should be able to just do something like path.join home dir, and this. Right? And that should get us the file. Sweet. And we'll do counter info. And we'll probably do counter the path. Right? We'll just do this. And then that'll be counter.db path and just the file name. Right? And in situations like that, I'm always tempted to make this lowercase to separate that aspect. You know, this is one identifier, right? All right. All right, and we'll do the same thing with this. Like that. And now we want to join them via their counter IDs, right? So, the quickest way would basically be to create an index. So let counter info equals strip, and we'll say so they're both indexed by their counter thingy-magics. All right, so so we should be able to do something like this. Counter ID count off object.entries boom. We'll do let info equals counter info counter ID object dot assign. Is that gonna work? No, wait. We need to initialize that. We're just gonna do it the old-fashioned way, right? If undefined counter ID equals boom. So, and then we'll do counter info counter ID dot count equals count, right? And then counter info JSON what was the first count, right? So if and I think we can skip that. No, because no, we can skip that. And we'll say if counter for JSON counter ID and counter for JSON first count, then counter for first count is yada yada yada, right? Right. I'm just trying to think if there's some more elegant syntax I can do. Yeah, it's kind of weird, like, having these objects split up. Can I just merge them, actually? Can I just, instead of all of this, because they're already indexed the same way, can I just object assign them? So if I do something like let idx equal, or let's just do this. If I do object dot assign, and we'll start with a blank object, right? And then assign all three like that, because they have completely separate keys. Well, no, actually, the keys, they're all keyed by the same, but the object properties are completely separate. So they should just merge peacefully together into a singular object, which does include the puzzle ID, which we don't need. But now I can do this on res. Don't need that. And then these are much shorter. Right. And let me just do it on the other two as well. Just we have the numbers for comparison. So the number should be the max of the two. So we have 3876 here, 3669. So 38879. No, yes, of course it should be greater because there will be some that don't have a match to the other and vice versa. So if I get a couple of these, just do kind of like so. Yeah, you see the first one, Lubov triple trouble with double T. There's a mosquito. Welcome to mosquito season, I guess. That does not have a match in the counter info, which was added much later. So this was an early one. Obviously, yeah, it's the first one in the database. So this was early, and I guess it never got visited again. That's interesting. Maybe they triple trouble because maybe there was a typo and maybe they fixed that. That's the sort of stuff we'll be able to figure out in the database afterwards. In fact, if we go in here now, right, into our MongoDB, can I make this bigger? Zoom in. This is a web interface. I'm always suspicious when they have a zoom feature in an app like this. So if we go to puzzle info and we'll search for counter ID, and then we'll do a regex query, right? And we'll match by basically Lubov triplet, right? That should be it. No? Find. Here we go. Lubov counter ID. Lubov ER. Lubov asterisk ER. Rip. What was the other character? The other part of the word? Trouble. Ooh. Man, Windows, your zones are too large. And move windows about. Trouble. Okay, what about if I just search for trouble? Trouble. Okay, there's a lot of troubles. What about if I do trip and then trouble? Triple troubles. X-speed. X-speed triple troubles. Triple trouble. So no triple trouble with two T's. That is interesting. That's also weird. Wait. So that's curious. Is this puzzle really like nobody? If nobody accessed it since this was made in the early days of the counter, it would not be in the short IDs. Can I Google this? Triplet trouble. As a single word though. Together with Lubov. Maybe it's on LMG somewhere. Oh wait, no, because my counter ID stuff is taking characters out, so there might have been extra characters in there. So maybe what we really want is we want to match by author. No, actually, forget the author. We want to find by title. Triplet. That's why there's two T's. Triplet. Sudoku. Trouble. How do I add MongoDB regex? How do I add options? I'm pretty sure for Node.js, the regex needs to be a string, right? Yeah. So, options. And can I just have the options as a string as well? Looks like it. Okay, so that should make it case insensitive. All right. If I do trouble. Triple trouble. If I do triplet and no trouble. So there are triplets. Ooh, with quotes and braces. That's scary. And if I search for author above. Find. Oh, how do I do case insensitive? How do I do a case insensitive query? Now we have to do a regex? Okay. Fine. I mean, it's indexed, so it should be okay. Buff trouble. Wow. Okay, so that entry is a complete ghost from the perspective of the data that I have. Now there is some other obscure data based on the logs. So I've done some extractions from the log data, but man, there was a lot of corruption in the logs, and it was like a few thousand puzzles. But it's older data, so it might be in there. So in the future, once the puzzle database is up and running, I might indulge myself and do some spelunking and see if I can extract any older puzzles. Because we know, we lost all the puzzles that were lost when the Git IO shortening service disappeared. And maybe some of them are existing somewhere that I have access to, but who knows, right? Okay. Anyway, so the fact that this is bigger than those two, I think, and what I know about object assign and how these objects are structured, it should get me all of the data. Obviously, if the IDs don't match exactly, this is still the outcome we would expect from a loop as well. And of course, this is so much faster and simpler, right? And in fact, we can just actually do this, right? In fact, we could almost, we can almost do this. Like if we make this an array of file names, we'll just do this, and then this, right? And then we'll just do, we'll stretch them out, and we'll map them to, can we, object.all, no, what am I saying? Promise.all, we'll do an await, promise.all, like that. Then we map the file name. Then we'll do a read file, right? And we'll do this, like that. That's converting the file name into a file read. Then we'll do that. Now this gets us an array of data. We need to parse the data. So it's actually gonna be that. No. We need to, after the await, we have an array. And it's that array that we need to map to JSON.parse. And now that we can feed into object assign, like that. And that's our res. And now the res here should be those three items. 38879, 38879. Don't need these anymore. 38879. Don't need that anymore. 38879. Yeah. All right. We can get rid of all of that. Right. I think I'm gonna... No, that's fine. Okay. And now, that's our merge data. Let's call it CountDB. That's fine. Now, the question is what we're going to do with that, right? So, do we create a new table in our MongoDB with just the counter data that we then need to... Can I just reset? Yeah, boom. Similar to PuzzleInfo, or do we try to attach it to PuzzleInfo? So let us explore PuzzleInfo for a second. Oh, actually, we can do that in here, right? Because this is... How long does this take? Like, less than a second, right? So, let's forget that for a sec. And we want to do a little bit of exploration again. Similar to when we were creating the puzzle store. So we want to do... we want to do something like that. And we care about not the puzzle store here. We're caring about PuzzleInfo. This space. All right, so we'll do PuzzleInfo. So the question is, can we jam this into PuzzleInfo? And there's a slight disconnect between counter IDs and we have short IDs, counter IDs, and the puzzle themselves. And in this case, since I'm just trying to think, the puzzle data matches. So all the puzzles within one of these entries will have the same counter ID, but different puzzles can have the same username and password. So the counter ID does not map directly. So I just want to see how badly it mismatches, basically, right? So I want to group by counter ID, right? And I just want to know how many there are. If I do this and I do count, right? And then I'll just say, you know, one of these guys. That should be all we need. API puzzles not defined. Puzzle info. Okay. Let me just check all the chat modes. By the way, let me know where you're watching from, or if you're watching, or because I don't know yet what the audience is for the morning streams, you know, because the US is basically in the middle of their night. And I don't know how many Europeans are available on a Thursday morning to watch a live stream, because they're probably busy working themselves rather than waiting for me to work. What if we do a limit 1 just to have a look what the data looks like? Okay, that gets us everything. But what we're caring about is we're grouping. Oh no, here we don't group, right? So that's 47074, whatever, right? And now if we insert the group part, count 47075. Counter if. I don't even know what that means. ID null. And did I not just fix that? All right. Count 1. Okay, so that gets us the count per counter ID. So we kind of want to do this. All right, so that's almost half the number. That's interesting. It's also interesting that that's way fewer counters that I have counter IDs for. And I guess I underestimate how long ago... Hey, midday. Well, almost. Greeting from Finland. Sunny Finland. That's not really two words we usually see together. What's the weather like in Finland? Because you know what? With all that global warming going on, Finland is gonna start looking more and more attractive. And here, considering it was like 28 degrees a few days ago in April, I am not looking forward to what the summer is gonna be like. Let's see, today it's actually gonna be a fresh 21 degrees, which I appreciate, but I'm still not looking forward to summer. All right. Let's do a sort by what solution count? What do we call it? Grouping by. I forgot how all this works. These query syntaxes don't. Man. So group. I think we can just sort by count. Right? If I do something like that. Oh, but if I output 3, it's a bunch. Ah, no, because it's only got the group data now. Okay, so we'll see that there are situations like this. And we can now query for these and say counter ID, whatever this is. Right? Is that not appropriate syntax? All right, maybe I'll zoomed it a little bit too much. No. Here we go. So this would be all the puzzles that match this counter ID. So there's 4 of them. They have different solutions, which is interesting. SCL. This one doesn't have a format. That's curious. What's the puzzle JSON? So this might be a legacy puzzle. Then there was a more modern version with a solution. So you see, this would be very interesting then to correlate with the analytics, because then we'll probably find that the old ones might have had some, probably don't even have traffic because the analytics is also relatively new. -3 degrees. My God. We have a border, well, you know, Toby, the border collie behind, the one, you know, this guy. He would love it. Like, he's been already starting to suffer with the heat, and he's been to Norway twice, more than me. I've been once because he goes there for search and rescue training, and holy moly, does he love colder weather. We've taken him to a glacier in northern Italy once, and he was not phased at all. I think he would thrive in a colder climate. He's from Wales. I've never been to Wales. I want to go to Wales to visit his mom, see if she's still around. Kobe's my excuse to travel interesting places in the world. All right. So, now, this puts me back in a weird position where our counter database... this tells me we definitely want to set up a separate counter database. Because we have so many more counters than we have any of this stuff, right? So let's figure out what the counter... Well, the counter database in the moment will only have... Yeah, we'll reference it by the counter ID for the moment. This is kind of, again, raw data, right? So we'll do something like... we'll take one of these guys. Like this, right? This is our init function that just makes sure we have some basic indexes and stuff. So we'll say puzzle... we'll just call it counter info. Or shall we call it puzzle counters? Puzzle counter info. That's fine. So we'll call it counter info. We don't have a hash here, so this will be just a puzzle ID, similar to what puzzle info has, right? So we'll have that. And here, that will be our unique index. Like that. And then we'll have an index on... what's the other bit of information we're going to put in there? The... curious if we can strip the puzzle ID there. We need to. Yeah, we need to strip the puzzle IDs. What was the other bit of information we had? Counter ID and first count. That's it. First count. Which we want. Do we need indexing on first count? Probably not. Like, we want to be able to retrieve that data, but we're not going to retrieve by that. Maybe. Maybe we'll do a temporal query eventually. Alright. Alright. Let's just do that then. But before we run that, let us take another peek at this data. And see if we're better off stripping it first. And basically we'll do this after the JSON parsing, right? So we'll set, let's say, data equals JSON parse data, return data, and delete data dot puzzle ID, right? And I'm gonna take this out, and I'm just gonna have a quick peekaboo at the size of this. Stringify dot length. See how big that gets. That should be fairly chunky. Yeah, so that's 43 megabytes because that includes a lot of the puzzle data, right? And if we take that out, it's the same. What? All right, what if we do slice 3, or just 2? We'll do that, and then we'll do object.keys data. Oh, all right. I'm an idiot because that's the whole thing. All right, this is not per thingy. We need to actually loop through all of these. Is there an easy way of doing that? Probably we'll want to do that after the fact then. Yeah, there's no point doing that here. Okay, so we're gonna go back to this, and that didn't help because this was only ever 2 anyways. Get rid of that. If I do this, we'll be back to this number. But now we can just loop through that and say, okay, we'll do for const. No, for item of counter object of entries CounterDB. I'm trying to think, how do I get access to the entries? Ah, okay, if I do slice 0, 1, it'll give us a look at one of these entries, right? If I do that. Maybe 2. The first one is our little special case. So it's the second item, right? So we'll do ID data, and then we'll just do delete data.puzzle ID. And that, I think, should do the trick. And then we can do this afterwards, and it should be much smaller. So it goes from 43. Nope. Is this data item no longer indexed into counter ID? Probably not. So we really kind of need to do this, huh? All right. No? Oh, wait. Slice here. Okay. All right, and then it gets down to 2.5 megabytes. Wow, that's still a lot of megabytes for... I mean, if we divide it by the size of it... If we divide it by this... How many bytes per counter is it? 65 bytes. Well, considering the length of the keys... You know, the word, counter ID, etc., etc., you know, it does add up. In the database, that won't be a problem, though. But at least we know this does the trick. Okay. Ooh. And now, what do we have? We have... we'll do this. Dot slice... 5. Just... Is it already in the right format? Wait a second. Why do I have a feeling this is not right? Why is it an array of arrays? I think I did something wrong here. I think I have a nesting problem. CounterDB.length. Is this gonna be length 2? No. Oh, wait. This is not 5 elements. It's from 5 onwards. Here we go. Alright, these are the entries. So, what happened to these guys? The hell? Oh no. Oh, I'm an idiot. Okay. Nope. I forgot. Okay, so this is all wrong. Holy moly. Yeah, I forgot that counter, the structure of this is different from this one. This points at objects, this points at numbers. So we either need to transform... Okay. Alright, so we can't do any of this stuff here. I'm silly. Alright, so let counter... counter... JSON equal... We'll just do... Wait. Okay, so basically the mistake I made is I didn't realize these two files actually had non-compatible structures. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna convert one to the other. Right? We're gonna do this. And... because I'm trying to think, if I turn this into... The thing is, to be able to map it, we need to actually create it to entries first. This is the puzzle database that is going to go behind SudokuPad. So I'm basically working on cleaning up the way puzzles are managed currently, which is a total mess, and enable future things with, you know, metadata and, you know, structured information and caching and all these sorts of things, make the server more efficient. My server is kind of in a mess at the moment because of the way I structured the data, and it's growing really fast. So this is getting kind of urgent. And it's also the foundation of what's going to happen with an account system, you know, because we need users, we need puzzles, we need what was the third piece? Oh yeah, and we need, you know, to let people, you know, it's like part of cloud syncing and so on, you know, being able to reference a puzzle like uniquely. This is all kind of important stuff. And it's a bit of data archiving as well. I don't want puzzles to get lost. I want puzzles to be available and accessible, right? And I want to learn things about the puzzles, like not just the few puzzles we learn about from Discord or from the videos or something, but like, hey, all the puzzles should be visible somehow, right? All right, so what we really want to do is we'll do an object.entries of this. But we'll also do an object.fromEntries afterwards, right? And then the entries will map them, and it'll be ID count, right? And we'll map them to an object that's no, we'll map them back to an array with ID, but now it'll have a count element. right? You know what? I'm just gonna skip this here for a sec, and then I'm gonna say, so that's the entries being mapped, and then they're getting turned back into an object. And then we're gonna output this here. FN is not defined. Oh yeah. I'll just do that. Parenthesis above the map. Probably was just cut off on the right side of the screen. Ooh, maybe I am. You sure? Let's see. That closes there. That closes there. That's the file read. That's the entries, and now we're mapping the entries. Zip-a-dip-a-dip. I'm trying to visualize what the entries look like. I cannot. If we just take that and stick that here, what does that look like? I didn't JSON parse it, that's why. Completely forgot that step. Alright, that should do it. There we go. Alright. So, yeah. So now we have something that's compatible with this other guy. But since we got to map the other guy anyways, we might as well pre-process the other guy. So, and by the other guy, I mean the counter info.json, right? And it's going to be more or less the same thing. This time with counter info, right? And now we're going to also map it, but this time we're gonna do something like these. And yeah, I think the what's the word? Start time is the only, first count is the only piece of data we actually care about, right? So we're just gonna do that. And that should get us what we need out of this guy without the puzzle data, which in this case, for the first time, we don't need. First count undefined. Yeah. All right, if I this, what do I get? First count okay, first count is undefined in some of these cases. All right. If first count is undefined, we don't actually want the property in there. So we'll basically do object.assign this, and then we'll just only assign first count if first count exists. First count, we'll do that, else we'll do that. We don't need object assign actually. We can just do this. If I do this, we'll get empty objects when there is no first count. But it's interesting because it'll still get us that the thingamajig exists. Too many properties to enumerate. Not sure where that's happening. But now we can go back to CounterDB. And this time we can just merge these. Like that. Right? And then finally, we can look at CounterDB and we should have a merged result. If I spell things correctly. So. And I feel like I'm working too close to the bottom edge of the screen, where usually my console window doesn't usually go all the way down there. But since we're only working the console today, I decided to make it a little bigger, but I think now we should be able to see it more. Okay, so these are the 5 entries from the counter database, but normalized to actually having objects here. These are the first 5 entries of the counter info, 2 of which have a first count. And then this is the merge data. And the merge data doesn't have any counter info or counts in there. Wait, what? That seems strange. Where's the count from this one? What? That feels wrong. Oh, are the individual entries overwriting each other? Is that what's happening? No, it shouldn't happen like that. Let me think. Yes, they are. Okay, I'm completely getting this wrong. You know what? I might as well loop. The problem is I can't just do one loop. I need to do a merge loop of the keys. So the merged element is still useful because it merges the keys. But then we still need to loop. Okay. That seems silly. But here we are. So now we can do object.assign. And these should always be objects or empty objects, right? Actually, I don't know why it would have count instead of counter info. All right. But we should be able to do counter.json ID and counter.info.json ID. This is not the ideal way of doing this, but if my math is right, this should work. Undefined are null to object. Assigned. Undefined or null to object. Okay. Catch. Then what went wrong? So type error. Undefined, 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 undefined. ID is L. Object.keys counter database. No, this is... this is all sorts of wrong. Why would it get a single letter? Oh, I'm an idiot. Okay, because I didn't do entries. Because I keep switching what I'm doing. This is not an array. This is literally just a list of IDs. Okay. All right. All right. So finally, we should have these guys with counts and nope, still no first count. Bill Murphy, free yourself. But is this because none of these have matching parts in here? In here, Bill Murphy, free yourself. Bill Murphy. Okay, maybe we'll need more of these before we find one with. I think because there's a lot of. Yeah, now we get some with first counts. All right. So let us just verify for a second here. So let's hide all this mess. I just want to verify something, right? So we want counter info length, not slicing, length. Then we want counter info JSON dot length And then we want CounterDB dot filter, where we have ID item, where item dot count is not equal undefined dot length, right? So we'll do counter dot count and then dot first count. And I want to see how these numbers compare. So count, we have 38,000. First count, we have 34,000. We have 3869 in total. No, we have 30. Okay, so that's just the larger of the two, which means, okay, that means counter contains an entry for every one of counter info, which now that I think about is obvious because that one is the primary database. And if we'll do count plus, and we'll do both, we should get not necessarily a difference because there could be some overlap, I think. 34,122. Yeah, so it's a smaller number than both. Okay, so there's about 4,000 puzzles that got basically never hit after counter info with the first count system was established. Okay, I think this means the data is now reliable. I think so. Okay, so that means I wanna... Do I need this anymore? What did I do wrong? I figured something out. This doesn't hit anymore, right? What was the issue there? What was the issue there? Like, why was I getting an exception over here? I don't recall. There's a bunch of undefineds. Oh yeah, because yeah, I had the error in the ID, yada yada. Okay, so we don't need that anymore. That shouldn't be able to error out anymore. Don't need that. Don't need that. Don't need that. Don't need that. Now, can we get rid of this? Can we just do something with these two? Like, we don't actually need independent... no, we do actually. We do need this data independently. Okay. All right. So now we can go back to looking at... yeah, these we don't need. This we don't need. This was the super short version that just didn't work. All right. And now we can think about our insert query. That's what I want to get to. I think we were using sudo convert this to using bulk write. So this one wasn't using bulk write yet. We'll do that some other time when we need to reload the database, because right now obviously it's not complete. But here I believe we're using bulk write. We had, yeah, here we had a lot of like drop throughs and error correction, all this stuff. 8 hash insert many find bulk write. Why use bulk write versus insert many? I think bulk write allows us... I think bulk write lets us do upsert and stuff like that. Simplicity, use insert many for straightforward bulk insert operations where you only need to insert multiple documents into a collection. Versatility, bulk write when you require a combination of different... Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna use insert many for now because it lets us just basically push the whole object in there. Insert many object values. Yes, that's pretty much all we need to do, I think. don't need that. Oh, we don't need that. Puzzle store, we don't need that. Alright. So, kind of all we really need to do is that. And it's puzzle info. Right. Puzzle info. Object values counter DB. Ordered 1. Puzzle info. Scripted count. And we do want to run initDB. Boom. Boom. Write error. Duplicate key. Error collection index #1 dupe key #null. Shoot. Let's see. That shouldn't be possible. Oops. Where is puzzle info? Duplicate error, puzzle info index. Oh shoot. No. Why am I looking at puzzle info? No. Did I just mess up my puzzle info? Counter info. What am I doing? I mean, we'll recreate it in the end, right? But what the hell did I just try to insert there? I don't think it's much bigger than it used to be. I don't think I can go to the end of this quickly enough for it to matter. Short IDs. Wait. Not exists. Exist false. All right, so there's an exists thingy. Dollar exists false. So I think it probably just inserted that one and then it broke. Not sure why it would be an index violation, but okay. So that should do the trick. Nope. Am I still inserting into the wrong thing? Counter info. Info. What's the info counter info? Not sure if the names here are good because maybe we'll just call them counters. Or counter. Or puzzle counter? Eesh. Maybe it should be puzzle counter. Alright, forget counter info. Let's call this counter. Let's call it puzzle counter. Counter is just too freaking generic. And let's put some spacing in there. So maybe this won't happen again in the future. Maybe. Counter info puzzle. Alright. Refresh. Puzzle info, counter info. Can we just drop collection? These are all basically temporary because they're all gonna get recreated at a time when they're more advanced, because obviously the data changes all the time. And there'll be a point where I need to switch it over to start putting new data into the database while some old data might still be in a file. So there's going to be a bit of a finagling to get it all to work properly during the time of launching this thing. Oh, come on. Really? You're forcing me to add this much padding? God damn it. All right. Puzzle counter. Here we go. One element. One element. What the hell? Counter DB. So counter DB here. Error. Bulk right error. Duplicate key error. Collection. Puzzle counter. Counter. Duplicate key. Counter ID. Null. Because we don't have counter ID as a property. So we need to add the counter ID as a property here. So counter ID. Do that. Do that. Do that. And we'll start it out like that. Boom. And we should be able to just erase that one. All right. Boom. We shouldn't need that anymore. And duplicate here. PuzzleDB. Blah, 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 blah. Can I refresh? Same thing again. Counter ID. Object assign. Ugh, I'm an idiot. I am an idiot. This needs to be here, otherwise the assignment will not happen. Right. Once again. Ah! Can I do this? Counter IDs. Where what do we call it? We go first count. First count exists. True. There we go. Now, can we convert this to a date time? I'm going to be Node.js date. Insert and create data with found, remove the last. So maybe we can just parse it. So if I do this, let's skip this step here for a sec. Let's also skip these steps, and we'll just do a dot slice 0 phi 4. And instead of this, right, we'll do return like that. Parse first count. Oop. Typed it twice and then I got lazy. All right. Bam. Okay. No, we want it as an actual date, right? So these seem to parse fine. So if I do this, that should, whoops, no. That should be fine, right? Okay. All right. This, and then this. We'll think about later. Now we need to wipe it again. How do I? Dropping is probably the fastest. Update, delete. Delete, yeah. Yes. Refresh. All right. So we should be able to reinsert them like half a second, unless we get an error. Damn it, another duplicate key. Duplicate keys should be impossible here. All right, let's have a look at values here before we try to push them into the database. Counter IDs, they should not be duplicable. So I don't know why the count is earlier sometimes. You know what? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna just assign it. I'm gonna do this and this. I'm gonna just ignore that, and it's just gonna do that. Counter ID count and sometimes first count. That's it. All right. Get 20. All right. All right. Still no first counts. How about 20 after the 4,000th? Thousandth. All right. 5,000th. There were about 5,000, 4,000, 5,000, like somewhere around that. Yeah. Okay. So this is what the data should look like. Now it's complaining about a duplicate on the counter IDs, which here should not be possible. It shouldn't be possible. But what if I do this? And then I'll do a map. I'll just do e.counterID or object.keys, right? If I do object.keys like that, and then I'll do this, and I'll do new set of this, right? And then I'll turn it back into an array like that, and then get the length of that array. How do these two compare? They're exactly the same. So how the hell did we get duplicates unless we entered it twice? Delete. Okay. Refresh. Nothing in here, right? We have this many keys, but if I do this, and I'll do .map element.counterID, it's also the same number. So the question is there anything about these that makes them not unique in terms of how they're used as an index? Maybe something about special symbols, maybe something about capitalization. Like, none of these look particularly problematic. What was the error exactly? Duplicate key error in collection. Puzzle count index. Counter ID dupe key. Counter ID triplet trouble. Duplicated with what though? PuzzleDB.puzzleCounter. Triplet trouble. If I do, look at these. If I take this, right, and then I filter e.match triplet. Like, how many are gonna match triplet? Sort it, please. Buff triplet trouble. How does it get a duplicate on that? There's only one entry. What if we'll do this one? Instead of taking the keys, we'll take the values, because that's what we're trying to insert in the end. Lubov triplet trouble. Definitely nothing in here right now. So, like, refresh this, go in here. Fine, there's nothing in here. Counter database, we'll take in the values. And now it didn't give us an error. God damn it! Did I just run it twice by mistake? Okay, so now we have 38,879. 38,879. All right. Let us do another quick check on the numbers. Because now I'm getting freaking paranoid here. So, counter JSON. And counter info JSON. Then counter DB here. Right? These three are these sensible numbers. 3876, 38879, 386791 merged together. Thing. So there's an overlap of digits that only exist in one or the other. Even though this should be a superset of that. Apparently not. Probably doing that had some confusion where counter IDs got lost. Alright. Okay, so I guess that gets us our counter database. And if I go like 5,000 in or something, in fact, I'm seeing some first counts. Okay. I'm happy with that for now. There's plenty of time to correct that in the future. And now we can use the counters as the counter database as another signal for quality. So let's put that here. And let's do a little bit of exploration to see what we can do with this. So load counter DB. Let's rename it to create. It does... No, actually it's loading in raw data, right? So this is just raw data. So we can put that... So I'll have a couple of loads and then a couple of processes. And kind of keep them in some sort of sensible order. Now, Explore Puzzles was doing a bunch of counting for us. Right. And I was trying to extract sort of high value stuff. So if I limit like to top 10, so we'll have author, total, unique solutions, short IDs, yada yada. But now we should also be able to include counter data, right? So we should be able to do a puzzle counter like that. And then we are counting by what? So we are grouping by author and title over puzzle info. So from puzzle info, we can link to counter data by counter ID. Can we immediately count on that? No. Group. So we'll do a counter. It's going to be like these, right? Ah, no. Wait. No. Trying to think. How do we link something? Project, match. Project. How to grab something from the other one? Trying to remember. Where have we done that before? Probably when we created puzzle info, right? Because there we had to kind of merge from different places. Or am I getting this wrong? Let's see. Puzzle store aggregate. Puzzle info. Using that for the insert at the end. Okay. Maybe it's something we've done elsewhere. So puzzle info aggregate and puzzle API puzzles. Lookup. Here we go. Okay. Now the problem is, because we're kind of going into the weeds here, this one will be a bit tricky. Do I have to do the lookup early or late in the whole thing? If I do that, and I say puzzle counter, local field, counter ID, foreign field, counter ID, as joined. So, look up. Look up in aggregation. So select yet. Okay, but then how do we use that? Look up API puzzles. ID API puzzles for ID. API puzzles. Joined. As joined. Okay. So we should be as counter. So now we should be able to say something like $counter dot yada yada, right? So here, puzzle count, we should counter some dollar counter. Do we need to do that as a string? Yes. And again, learning MongoDB here. So if we do this, counter sum, I'm not sure if that's gonna pass all the way through because we have a second group here. So we have short IDs, solution count, counter sum, dollar counter sum. And this should be sum. So the grand total of solves for that author. Now that's interesting that we'll getting a bunch of zeros. So we'll probably have to go one step back here on the on this. If I go back one step here, comment this out for a sec, because it's the double grouping that's gonna confuse my brain. And we'll just output that for now. So what do we have? We have things like unassigned, counter sum, solution count. We might even want to step one further back. If we'll do a limit 5 and like completely skip the second group as well, or the first group, right? What do we get from the counter? Counter ID, counter ID count. So what if we use project? Right? If I do something like this and I say project counter.count solve count. Something like that. If I do this, what does that look like? Oh. Okay. So that only works with, like, it'll drop everything else. Like I can't just map one. Counter.count. So back to this one. Counter sum, counter.count. Counter.count, counter sum 0. Unassigned title, nameless Sudoku. Unassigned sort, solution count. Solution count. We're sorting by the number of puzzles with a solution. And unknown untitled is the highest? No. Like we have a lot of unassigned and nameless puzzles here, which this makes sense for. Especially since yeah, that's why there's 0, because I'm on client side, I'm filtering out puzzles with these names and such. But why do they rank so highly here on solution count? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. All right, if we get more of these. Okay, so because I'm trying to remember why I did the second grouping here. This splits up. Yeah, this splits up individual puzzles, right? Yeah, okay. And then this joins the puzzle together by author, right? And then those will drop out because individually the nameless puzzles are the highest. But then overall the puzzles made by a particular author, yeah. So yeah, there's obviously there'll be the solution count will be very small because it generally should be only 1, right? Except something like this where they use a name a lot, right? Because there should only be one. Generally, there should be only one name puzzle per name title, unless there are multiple versions, and then it'll be like a small number, right? Okay, so now we get something more sensible here, but the counter sums comes through at 0 as 0, and that's strange to me. Counter sum, short ID sum, counter sum solution. Where does short ID sum come from? Short ID. Here we go. Short ID count. So puzzle count. Sum counter sum. Dot sum. In fact, there's 0 on all of these. So why does that one work, let's say, and this one does not? So if I do counter sum 1, it should just count the number of puzzles, right? But counter.count distinct count. So that's how many entries we have. So how many puzzles we have for this user by this grouping. So how many individual entries we have, how many distinct titles we have by that user, right? We have 2,600, yeah, we have 1,046 solutions. Because James Sinclair has basically 2 versions for each puzzle, but the titles are different, so it counts them separately here. What I don't understand is how the counter sum doesn't add up correctly. Let's do something here quickly. Let's filter by author. Here, match author equals James Sinclair. Right. So we're only looking at James Sinclair puzzles, and counter sum comes out as 0. Really? Really? That seems unlikely. So let's look at the puzzle counter, and we'll search for counter ID regex regex James dollar options I find. Beginning of the string. James Sinclair. Yeah, James Sinclair. Here we go. Sinclair. Right. Yeah. So we've got plenty of counts here. So what's going on? What is going on? Counter ID. ID. Like if I do this, does this include the counter ID? If I do this, does that include the counter ID? Nope. If I do this, does that include the counter ID? Okay. And if I shorten this to 5, and if I then include counter.count here, like that, what do we get? Get the self count numbers. But then why would the sum of that be... Frick. Why does this look like an array? Why does this look like an array? Not an array. How does lookup work exactly? I have a feeling there's something about lookup that I don't understand. So, lookup takes a document with these fields. Lookup stage has the following syntax, yada yada yada. What does it do? Performs a left outer join collection of the same database to filter out documents from the joined collection for processing. The lookup stage adds a new array field for each input document. The new array field contains the matching documents with the joined. So it creates an array. Specifies the name of the new array. Okay. So this needs to be referenced as something like that. No. I'm going to be lookup array to element. Pull element from an array of arrays. Pull element next array, out array, in array, in array IDs. I'm going to be first element from array. Because I know it's unique. So if I just do if I do something like first from this, will that do the trick? Okay, now it's a number. Which is all I needed. And that's confusing because hey, alright, that's it. Sheesh. Okay. Mystery solved. We were getting an array from lookup, which I didn't realize. And now we have counter sum is that. Sweet. All right. Now if we don't match here, right, and we get rid of that because that's not doing anything. And now we get a counter sum and we can sort by that. Now Clover will outdo James again. We can do sort by counter sum. We can say top 10 by puzzle counts, right? Or we can even do average per puzzle, right? So group average. So we can do counter sum and we can do counter AVG. And it'll be AVG. And not here, but here. And not that, but that. I need to quote these guys, I think. Right? Not even sure if I need to quote these. Ah, yeah, I do. So if I do this, right? We can do Node.js average round. So we can probably also do round like that. Nope. Unknown group operator round. Round number place. Unknown Mongo unknown group operator round. Why can't I use round here? No. Round. Rounds a number or whole integer or to a specified decimal place. Round has a following syntax, yada yada yada. So rounding to yeah. But where can I use it? Rounded value. Project. Rounded value round. Return this value round to the first decimal place. Value. Round average. And man, I gotta sort out this catch look. Really need. Yeah, maybe this will answer that. Average, round, average. This documentation on your operators accumulators round are not allowed at group stage. You can use them at add field stage. But in your case, the average field defined at group stage will be overwritten by add field stage. So, problem is with project, you have to reproject everything. So I can do counter average, round, counter average, and then here, just do that. That what we're sending out in the universe here? Add fields. Oh. Yeah, I think so. All right. Not sure why round -1 would be relevant. Place. Optional can be a valid expression that resolves during blah blah blah. If place is 0 if unspecified. Positive integer round rounds to place. If place resolves to negative integer round rounds using the digit place to the left of the decimal. Digit to the left of the rounds using the digit. For example, round -2 uses the second digit from the left of the decimal and returns. Yeah, no, we don't need that. But that's good to know. All right. Counter sum, counter average. So if we sort by counter average now, we'll get a very different list probably. You see, unknown goes back up. That's interesting. So the average count of each puzzle on unknown authors is 431,000. Holy shit. But that's probably because, untitled puzzles get all lumped together on the counts, right? So we can probably discard that signal. So Razor, for example, has only 12 puzzles in total. So his average count is really high. Interesting. And then their sum and average is the same, which is very strange. Okay, which means they have only one puzzle here. All right, because it's a combo name. All right. That's interesting. So counter average is not as valuable. Like, it would have to be a combination of the ones, you know, like how many puzzles and average and all this. But yeah, not bad. Now we could do things like how many the sum of the counts of puzzles with solutions, you know, like combine some of these quality signals. Hey, Darren Burnett, thanks for that. Really appreciate that. Yeah, and I'm very aware of its failures, which I'm working very hard to improve. But unfortunately, you know, it's no longer low-hanging fruit. The next steps have to be a little bit bigger, and it's taking a little bit more time than I would like. But I hope I'll get there. Hey, yeah, I actually want to clean these up a little here. I can put them in a spreadsheet, maybe we do a graph or something, I don't know. Here we go. Can I just take these and like do something like that for our sanity? If I do this, and then I'll do that, and then I'll do this. This. No, this doesn't work at all. No. Why does it not split into split text to columns? Boom. So author total unique solutions short IDs country. Why would it do it like that? They all have tabs in between. Google Sheets split to columns fails with tab. Our steps of text Google Sheets yada yada yada. Data cleanup trim white space. No. How to paste tab separated value data. Parse tab separated text file. No. Parse the value from clipboard, not from a file. So if I paste and then I go data, cleanup, trim white space. No, that just removes the tabs. That's useless. Whoa, frickin' Windows! Stop grabbing my windows. Prior answer update. I'm leaving the original answer here. Just might be helpful. URL. No, it's not a URL. It's pasting from clipboard. Pages strips tabs by default when you paste text using a standard paste. What? If I do Shift B, then I'll do split. Like, there's a tab in between these two. What the hell, man? Like, all of these are wrong. Google, all of your results are wrong. This talks about Excel. This is talking about importing a file. I'm saying from clipboard. Google, come on. Come on. All right, so it just might not work for tabs. So what if I do something like this? Now the problem is any of those that have double quotes in them or commas. CSV escape. I think I've used CSV before in here somewhere. Ooh, we have a dependency. We have a CSV package. No, npm. No, I want it. Question is it a simple parser or is it like a big thing with APIs and blah blah blah? That's not it. It's literally called CSV, right? Yeah, I don't know. That's why CSV is supposed to be super simple, and it's actually a huge pain in the butt. If I do this, right? I output it like that. Because the problem is these IDs. No, these IDs should not have commas or double quotes in them. Ooh, no. I just want to keep the old around because I might actually use it for something else. Same with this. Boom. So we really kind of want to do this. That. And I just want to see if it can handle this better. If I take that, go back to wherever I was under all these windows, delete that, paste that, and now say, hey, look at that. It almost got it right. I don't know why it would think that double quote goes there. Author, total, unique, solution, strategy, counter, sum. And then we have counter average, all right. So if we grab that, stick that in there. Okay. And it's currently sorted by counter sum, which of course includes unknown. Let's do 100. AGDC. This is, I'm hoping this is the kind of stuff that's gonna get all you veterans out of the woodworks, because I think that's really interesting stuff. And ooh, can I? Total still for some reason. Why? Doesn't make any sense why I would keep that there. Right, let's just do this. Can we have the same width on these? Yeah. Just a bit more space. All right. So, if we look at that, now we're actually sorting by counters, and we've got 1.261 million here on Philip Newman for an average of 2,200 per puzzle. But for example, GDC has an average of 5,300. So more solves, fewer puzzles. So kudos on hitting, and I shouldn't be looking at short IDs. I should be looking at these guys, right? Unique puzzles. I don't actually know how I'm distinguishing unique puzzles. Unique titles, right? So 152 versus yeah, like almost 4 times as many, and you have more counts per average. So well done, GDC, well done. So now likes are hidden inside, they are hidden inside the plausible data. Did I experiment with the plausible API? I'm sure I have. Where? I'm just looking at the folders if there's anything here. I have accessed it, but I don't know if I have an actual script for that. Plausible API. That's API reference. So for example, we'd want to look at something like, what is, do we have, not JSON, well, it's kind of JSON API. Do we need the user agent? User agent header. Important, special care should be taken with 2 key headers which are used for unique visitor counting. Oh, no. We need to pull data out. So, Plausible Stats API offers a way to retrieve your stats programmatically. It's a read-only interface. Plausible record page and custom. Okay, no, we want this. Even though we want to retrieve event data. And I remember thinking they've done an example with Postman. Yeah. Because what I've done in the past is because obviously this dashboard retrieves data from them, right? And I basically just replicated these calls. But of course, that requires the sort of browser interface. But maybe I can do something like that. I don't even know where that that file, the text file is that I've experimented with there. I usually dump them all in here. Let me see if I can find them quickly. Notes. Maybe it's in here somewhere. Project SudokuPad. SudokuPad. Ops. No. JavaScript. Is it a JavaScript file? Come on. I don't know if it's searching or not. Do you have to press this button? Is it doing a search here? I have no idea. How do you tell if Explorer is doing the thing? Enter. Find all JavaScript files. Here we go. What the hell was that? Jesus. Alright. So, if I sort them by date modified, results. Trailer. Oh, this is all old stuff. Okay, what if I look here? Puzzle updates. I definitely did this in 2024. URL. Yeah. Oh, okay. That's what's for the fog novella, right? Updates. Okay, that's the one I used to change puzzle data on the fly. So it's not in here, unless it's a text file. Here, notes plausible. I saw it. Here. Why did I not see that one? Where is this one? Fun codes? Notes. Alright. It's really JavaScript. I should just save it as JavaScript. Probably. Yeah. So this is my little toolkit for pulling data out of plausible. And as you can see, it might not be the best way of doing it. I don't even remember what this specific thing does. Let's find out. If I put that here, okay, it basically generates some data for me to copy and paste. Okay, this is data for one puzzle. I'm basically contemplating right now is should I try to remember how this works to generate some test data just to have something to try with, or do I want to actually dig into setting up a proper API script? I don't think this has any of that in there. So getting started. So what about Node.js plausible API? Is there a Node.js library? I mean, this is not official. Unofficial Node.js client for the Node plausible. Node plausible is currently still in public beta. This function can be changed at any time. Shall we give it a try? Install. Safe plausible dash API. So in theory, you can go back here. Let's stop this here for a sec. Await test plausible API. Right. All right. And what we're looking for, it's still doing stuff. All right. I think we're in import land here. Right. Now I have an API key. I definitely don't want to put it here though. Is there a test key? I might have to do this off screen. Let me see. I need to also find out what that. So I can probably probably not this. Danger zone? No. Regions? Nope. General. Where do I get the API key from? API key. Sites API, plausible IO. Sites searching. Anyway, plausible settings. Yeah, well. Settings. Maybe here? Okay. Let's take this off screen. Where would I have put these? Where would I have put the? No, maybe. Nope. No. What if I go here, search for that? I have this API key somewhere. It could also be where it should be. But do I want to risk popping that open on stream? Okay, guys, I'm gonna just trust you here. Possible. Do I have it? Yes. Okay. All right. All right. I found it. So let us do something like this. And we'll save that under plausible dot. All right. So now I hope I'll be able to load it without putting it on screen on the stream, which would be quite embarrassing. Running. And I should close all of these in case, I don't know, I don't trust OBS. Excuse me. Yes, and that blank document was my work. That's why I'm doing this, because I'm stuck with... I'm blanking out on the work I'm supposed to be doing. All right. Let us read a file. So we read a file earlier. So let's just do the same thing. Boom. Right? And we should be able to do something like... Boom. That API key. That. And then we'll just call it plausible e.t. Let's hope I didn't screw this up. And hopefully this way we can use the API without it getting output. Hopefully. All right. That's API reference. Can we get an example? So, examples of common queries. Ah, wait, no, we were using this thing, right? So if I do this, let resume, right? We'll do SudokuPad.app. Is that gonna work? Oh. Oh, no. WSL shuts down because I gotta do that every now and then for some reason. Enter to restart, enter to restart, enter to restart. All right. Unexpected identifier, plausible. It's right here. Import plausible. Do I have to do the import up here? PuzzleDB. Okay. We got it. All right. That might work. So let us see how we can get our stuff out of there. So what we need is what we were looking for. What have we been looking for? We want to look for what was the important thing? Likes. That's the one I wanted to look for. All right. So again, this is not documentation. This is a few examples. Period, metrics, filter. This is not documentation, unless this is all it can do. And that's the problem. The API gives us much less information. So this might not be useful at all. These are the only 3 things it can do. Because like I need things like per puzzle, all the timing, you know, per puzzle, let's say per hour, all the like events, things like that, right? I want or likes over time per puzzle, you know, that kind of stuff. So you usually need 3 dimensions, not just 1. Visitors pages bounce rate. So if we filter by like, this might do the thing. Maybe. So if we do something like this, right? 7 days. And we'll do just visitors, let's say, page views. And then make this a little bit less janky. And then we want to do filters. Where do the filters go? Metrics. Filters. Optional filters are documented here. By documented, okay. So event goal equals like, I guess. So if we go filter, goal is puzzle liked by filter. So what does that look like? Goal equals puzzle liked. So if we say event goal puzzle liked as a string, is that what they're telling me here? Is that what they're putting out? Results is undefined. Probably not. So event goal equals sign up. Event goal, what's the capitalization of the goal? It's all lowercase, right? Event goal equals sign up. Puzzle liked. Completed goal sign up. It's not a goal, maybe? Goal is puzzle liked. So it is a goal, right? Goals, puzzle liked. If I go to funnel, solve to liked. For every solved puzzle, certain percent of puzzles are liked. Okay. So puzzle liked goals. But I mean, they're just events, right? What if I filter by... There's no such thing as event, right? It is a goal. And filtering. Most endpoints support a filters parameter to drill down into your data. String. Filter string optional. Visitors, page views. So why would we get result undefined? Here's page views. If I don't have this here, results undefined. Maybe that's the problem. What the hell? What did I remove before? I removed a bunch of stuff, right? If I run this, error, metrics cannot be queried multiple times. What did I screw up here? That's literally in his... My god, that's literally the sample code. It has visit duration twice, so this already doesn't fucking work. Yeah. This is garbage. It is not doing what it says it should do. And that's the problem with unsupported, whatever. I guess the API has changed because date is under results now. Missing results. Okay, what the heck? Add missing results. Do I really want to debug this thing? The answer is obviously no. The question is, am I going to do it anyways? And the answer to that is probably yes. Or shall I just do a direct request instead? That might be faster. Like if I... Where do I get the token from, right? I have my API key. How do I get the token? Or is that the thing? Alright, what if instead of doing this, right, I'll do some sort of fetch request here to this URL. So we'll just do something like this. Like, we'll do that. What else do we gonna do? Bunch of stuff. And then we'll basically do a fetch. And we'll do a fetch. We have fetch here? No. Fetch. There we go. So if I just do this. Headers. My. Alright. Node fetch headers. Headers. So it's just gonna be headers, right? It'll be this without the this is an array. No, it's gonna be this equal to this. Now I don't know if the API key is the right syntax here, but we can try this at least. I mean, hey, maybe it'll just work, right? It says 200, okay. That's a good sign. Body broadly decompress, alright. Let's res equals await res.body. Yeah. Res.body is not a function. Ooh. Res.body. What do we need to do? Res status. After this, res.status, res, yada yada. Res. How do we extract the actual data? Okay. Okay. So it's JSON data? Ooh, no. Miss tappity tapped. Okay. All right. Well, that was faster than trying to use that npm module. Hey, hey, 80ZA, I guess. Everybody needs to improve their documentation. Everybody, or they need to start doing documentation, not just very limited use case examples. Okay. So now the question is, can we assemble the string as we need it? You know, we're gonna do this, right? And we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do this. All right. I don't know why it's limit 50, but whatever, right? Limit 10, we'll do 7-day. And then instead of this, we're gonna do property event page. No. I think we need to have another look at the docs now. Aggregate. So this is basically what we want to do. So it's aggregate. And maybe we'll move that to the next line as well. Then we can do this and count that out. So we have aggregate, site ID, period, yada yada, metrics. So we'll do period, and we'll do metrics, metrics equal visitors, page views. All right. And then we'll do optional filter, right? Metrics compare. Previous period. Okay, no. Filters. And then we'll do filters. In filters, we should be able to use the string we had earlier, which I threw away. Okay. I think we had that up somewhere. So filters equals event goal puzzle liked. And now, what do we get? Error passing period, and we're missing period 7DA 7D. Puzzle liked does not find valid metrics from the documentation. Valid metrics. Is it country event goal? The quality. Event goal equals puzzle liked. Looks correct. I didn't add the ampersand here. All right. Should really use an URL parser, parser thing. Hey, Bremster. Yeah, man, so much. I'm working on so many things. The most important things is the app, the Gas Rise app that I'm doing with the gas team, because, well, you know, CDC didn't want to do more apps with me, and that was the whole freaking business model of this thing. And I feel bad saying that because Bremster mentioned how my site doesn't have ads, but I am looking into putting ads on the site, simply because, you know, right now I'm making about half of what I need to survive, and ads could literally sort that out. But what I might do is I might have an ad-free, like I might not put ads on beta, for example, and then encourage people to, you know, if you don't like ads, just use the beta site, you know. Also, the ads will only be shown to people who have played, I think, less than 10 puzzles. So basically nobody who's currently playing it will ever see ads. So it's like a newbie tax kind of thing. We'll see. And only it would show like after you finish a puzzle, right? It's like by choice, basically, on the puzzle and dialogue kind of thing, right? But we'll see. I have to do a bit of work to get that started as a test run. Okay, page views 0 visitors thing. So I'm guessing the event isn't part of page views, so that's always going to be 0. Now the problem, what this doesn't get me, it's not giving me per puzzle stuff. Yeah, and also, I mean, the other thing that's coming is obviously some sort of sign-in account stuff. So it might also be that maybe ads get only shown to people who don't have accounts. So just create an account and you have free access, that sort of thing. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. So I'm working with Rami Ismail, who is well known in the indie games community, and he's gonna help me with. He was very interested in the project. I asked him for some consultation, and he's helping me out. And he's basically kind of guiding me to what's important. And he really wants me to put together sort of a minimum viable product for an account system, and that's why I'm working on the puzzle database on these streams, because I think that's also very fundamental. And maybe I can then combine that with an ad-free experience, and you know, all the features we've always been wanting about, you know, collecting information about the puzzles you're solving and syncing your state between different tools and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, I mean, the other thing I'm working on is also to get myself more organized. So I'm kind of trying to put together like a schedule of when I do what, so people know, hey, you know, Monday morning stream. Like I want to do streams every Monday morning where I basically do user support, right? Where I go through emails, where I fix bugs, where I answer questions, things like that. So people know exactly when to go and they don't feel like they're bothering me or whatever. But you know, I'm still kind of trying to get this all sorted out. So feel free to ask away or send me a PM and I can reply there as well. Depends if it's a public question, you know what I mean? So the one thing I would like to do now is if I want to do per puzzle. So what I can do here is I can filter by puzzle liked, right? And then I can have this. So what I can do is basically what I used to do is I used to say, give me one specific day and then give me the like counts per puzzle. Now that is probably not the aggregate thing, what they're talking about here. But probably time series. So if we look at time series, so we're gonna try these all, right? So let's try time series here. We also have a period. Currently we'll have the same. We don't have the metrics, right? What does that get us? It gets us visitor numbers, but that's visitors who like the puzzle, I'm guessing. Yeah, and it's per day. So probably what I can do here is I'll probably want to do I want to get the puzzles. So that's time series breakdown. Property, visit source, metrics, visitor balance, real time. Source, no. So in the actual admin interface, It's puzzle collections, but it's not the time to talk about it. Puzzle collections. Yeah, so one other thing I'm working on, so because it's a bit of a chicken and egg situation, it's like, do I just build something and then setters and solvers will use it? Because I don't know what I need to build, right? So what I want to do is I want to basically do a few experiments. So instead of building a big system that then is completely wrong, I want to basically just manually build some pages, right? Like, it's a website, right? I can build an HTML page. I can build an HTML page with, you know, all the folk puzzles, or, you know, all the collection of James Sinclair's puzzles, or whatever, right? And one of the things I'd like to start with is basically just the SudokuPad's, what did I call it? Greatest hits or something. Not greatest hits. Basically just like every now and then I come across a puzzle that's really kind of special. Like there's a puzzle that's sitting around here somewhere where somebody drew a nice image just using, I think Sudoku Maker or Penpa, or like puzzles that are sort of really extraordinary. Mostly in not necessarily in how much people like solving them, but more in how they show off and use the engine, right? Like that puzzle with the background image from on Cracking the Cryptic recently, you know. A Hall of Fame. So talk about Hall of Fame, right? So I'd like to put a few puzzles in there. I want to put there the Toby puzzle and maybe all the Sven puzzles, you know. And just experiment a little bit with what such a page would look like that lists puzzles. And then use that as a sort of template to kind of talk about it. Say, hey, puzzle listings. What kind of information? How do they link? You know, what kind of listings do we want? You know, especially something like, you know, the Support Sven series. Like, obviously the point would be to draw traffic to the videos. So like, what does a page look like that is primarily about the videos? What does a page look like that's primarily about the puzzles? You know, things like that. And then I can kind of build a few smaller things like that, smaller collections manually, and then just, you know, like here's a page that links to all the puzzle packs by Skunkworks, or here's a page that links to all the puzzles that were donated for a specific event or whatever, right? And then we kind of can talk about it, and then we also have a place to send people. You know, here's a page with all the puzzles that explain rules really well, you know, like a tutorial page, you know, and use that as as a way of kind of experimenting and kind of starting to fill the site with a bit of discovery potential as well, right? Hey Hades, by the way, Hades, like a lot of people are chatting over on YouTube, so you probably don't see their chat messages. But personal project, I'm not sure what you mean by that. It's my full-time job for like 3 or 4 years, but yeah, it's just me, so it's very personal. I'm from Germany originally, but I currently live in Malta, which is quite warm in comparison. Yeah, of course. I mean, that the whole part of the user account system is to have setters and publishing channels and have a whole kind of community around that, you know, where we have the puzzles as an entity. I mean, part of the reason I'm building the puzzle database is people don't understand that a puzzle, what is a puzzle, is not well defined yet. You know, does it include early versions? Does it include variants? You know, in other words, when James Sinclair builds a colored version of a puzzle and an uncolored version, is this 2 puzzles, or is that one puzzle with a little toggle where you can enable the colors or not, right? That kind of stuff. I mean, I've been here for a long time, so it's kind of like it's the only place I know to live as an adult, but I'm definitely shopping around. Like it's not as nice as it used to be. Like part of the reason living here was, you know, a lower cost of living and things like that, and that's not the same anymore. So it's the cost of living has gone up, but the quality of life has gone down, and you know, with global warming, it's getting hotter. I'm not a big fan of the heat, so it's like it doesn't have a lot of for me, the bad probably outweigh the goods, and it's hard to make a living here. So it's kind of, you know, we go through dozens of iterations before we get our release version. So publishing everything would be a problem. Yeah, no, it's not about automatic publishing. It's about control for the setters, right? So the idea is that a setter would have a list of puzzles, and a puzzle would have a list of versions, right? And the setter could say which is the primary version, because sometimes, for example, a puzzle might have more than one public version as well, right? It might have a public version with additional hints, or without solution checking or whatever, right? So that's exactly the sort of thing I need to figure out, is like, if I have puzzles that are related, a family of puzzles, so to speak, you know, which of those should I show to a user, right? Yeah, exactly. Colorblind versions. corrections over time, right? Like Cracking the Cryptic, they love fiddling with the text of a puzzle, but that doesn't mean that that's the text that the solver wants to have, right? And then there'll be puzzles where there's a rules text that's very story-like, you know, and then there'll be a version with just the raw rules, right? And I want to experiment. I want to say, hey, you know, what if you can have a advanced version of the rules, which is just like, hey, normal Sudoku rules apply, that's it. And then a version that's super explanatory and details everything, you know, like all these kind of options. Without necessarily having to change existing puzzle data, but saying, hey, after the fact, you can go in there and say, hey, this, and translations and all this other stuff, right? I've looked into patterns a while ago, and it was a bit of a mess. The problem is there's already so much detail in there, and if you add patterns, like, it becomes so much harder to actually see anything. It becomes so noisy. So, like, unless there's like a... I mean, what I'd rather do is build like an API for modding and for plugins, and then have somebody who basically understands this stuff better to potentially build something that people like doing. While I have it merged here, I don't... let me think if I can pop that out. No, can I pop this out? Chat settings, can I have a pop out? Oh, I think I can download it. But I don't, you know, like I use Restream chat, and I don't know if this is public. So if I type something in my chat right now, both, you know, you'll all see this. You'll all get the chat message on both systems, right? I don't know, like, I think I'd have to have a bot in one or the other that copies the chats over, and it could get kind of spammy. But, like, I don't have enough viewers yet to make that worthwhile, to be honest. Yeah, Liam, I looked into patterns, and people always think of, like, a classic Sudoku, but they forget that lots of puzzles will have lines and symbols, maybe background graphics, and then if you put a noisy pattern on top, or in between, it's very hard to make a pattern that'll always work on all circumstances. So... like, it'll take a lot of time and a lot of effort, and then I might build something that doesn't help colorblind people anyways, and nobody uses, or only one person use, right? And I might spend hundreds of hours on it. It's very hard to figure out, like, if it was as simple as just doing the right thing, and I know, okay, I spent 50 hours and I've done the thing and it'll help 10,000 people, you know, that's different. But right now, I could easily spend 100 hours doing it and help nobody, right? So it's like the multiple color pages. The reason I did it was simply to shut people up, but I don't think that many people actually using it, right? Like, a few people really love it, but maybe not enough to actually be worthwhile having done it in the first place. You know, that's sometimes an issue. Speaking of what I'm here to do, I forgot. Time series. Yeah, okay, I wanted to look at this list, right? So if I go under here, and if I clear... okay, that's cleared already. And if I pop open this details view, it should make a request, right? And this is pages. Pages. Now, what the hell does that mean? It's not a time series. It's not an aggregate. It's not visitors. Breakdown? Endpoint allows you to break down your stats by some property. You're familiar with a scale from the endpoint response to running group on a certain property on your stats. The properties section for easy reference. Exit page, entry page. Ah, wait, we can do it via the events, right? Ah, wait, what does that look like? So if I, you know, never mind this. If I go to something like this, let's say title, right? Custom prop values. Ugh. That doesn't look like something they were offering here. Top sources, top pages, top countries. And that's the reason why I initially wasn't using this, because it doesn't seem to give me access to the information I'm actually interested in. Like, how do I get a list of pages that were visited in a day? Like, none of these examples include any of that, right? Metrics. What metrics are available? Let's have a look at that. List of available metrics. All right, let me see what's going on in the chat. Yeah, that's the thing. Someone recently released a puzzle with animated background. Very distracting. Yeah. So I basically added. This is in beta right now. I basically said, okay, animation. That's a really bad idea. So it now basically just takes the first frame of an image, and the whole background image is a bit dodgy. Like, because right now, ultimately it needs to be a better interface. Once I have a database, I can have the images hosted on my server. I can filter them, and I'll probably have to run them through moderations because I do not want to have certain images appearing in backgrounds of puzzles that people link to hosted on my server, right? It probably makes sense. So they probably won't show until a set of moderators check and say, yeah, this is not a dick or whatever, you know. Ramster, regarding the colorblind stuff, yeah, of course, there's two sides to it, right? It's like, what does the setter do in a puzzle? And also how the tools work. And I definitely understand like the pattern thing because, and there might be maybe an option in the future where one of the pages in the color palette are just like, hey, dots and slashes and stuff, or I don't know. Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, I'm hoping like that's the, you know, we're probably sort of at the verge with SudokuPad, at the verge of going mainstream. Like, it's not there yet, but eventually I hope that SudokuPad will be seen by people that aren't familiar with the community and bring people into the community. So eventually there'll be some kind of response, especially when I start hosting the puzzles myself. There'll need to be more responsibility on the quality of the puzzles. And eventually there will be a little, hey, this puzzle is marked as not suitable for work, you know? Are you sure you want to see it? You know, I'm hoping we're not going to have adult-only puzzles. Like, I don't think that puzzle would be unshowable to children, right? But it definitely should have a little disclaimer on it, just like they did when they posted it, right? Yeah, exactly, tagging and like community tagging as well. Like, there needs to be a button when you say, hey, I saw a puzzle, I think it's broken, or I don't like it, or the background is animated, right? They need to be able to report that because it'll help me, right? I'm sure there's lots of people complaining about stuff that I never see because they don't know how to talk to me about it. Yeah. All right. Metrics. Conversion rate, time on page, events. The number of events. Pages, custom events, when triggered by the goal, metric corresponds to the person's dashboard. Page view. Visitors. So the metrics do not include the page itself. What about time series? Time periods, filtering, site ID. No. Breakdown. Now the breakdown, properties. Visit entry page. So this is probably the best thing I can hope for. So if we go back to breakdown, so what do we need for breakdown? We need a site ID, we need a property, right? Okay, so that's probably the best we can hope for. So at least that gets us a short ID, right? Does it potentially get us an event value? Or a property value? Event goal. Event goal. If I say event goal here, what does that look like? That gets us... okay. Yeah, that's not what we want. Source, refer, exit page, entry page, event page. Because the thing is, with a particular event, I don't even remember which one right now, I'm actually passing IDs for the puzzles through. But I think this is probably the best option we have to finding like a list of pages. Yeah, I think, and I do want to get as much out of the way, so I don't want to say, oh, you know, ratings are 1 out of 5 for difficult, you know, like, I think I want to keep it a little bit more up to the solvers and setters, and things like, and I'm a tech guy, and I think things like difficulty, like people often point out, it's relative, right? So I think that's actually the sort of place where it should be algorithmic, you know. So it should basically be things like, you know, it just looks at how you've performed in the past with puzzles and learn what kind of puzzles and it doesn't need to know anything about the puzzle, right? All it needs to know is how other people interact with these puzzles, right? So it says like, oh, if you solving time is within a certain period of time, like if you solved one puzzle, it takes everybody with a similar solve time to that one puzzle for you, and basically pretends and fills in the missing data about you with their data, with that group's data, right? And then if you solved another puzzle and it means, okay, hey, you only happen to be slow on that one puzzle, but you're actually fast on these kinds of puzzles, it'll correct it. And the more puzzles you solve, the more it'll fit a sort of an overall group to you, right? And then your group is basically what determines your relative difficulty things. So that's kind of what I want to do in the future, right? And it'll probably keep it vague because it'll be vague, right? I mean, for example, personally, like I look at my stats and I look at let's see, I go here, right? Let's say today, right? And I look at the pages, right? And I look at, not that, if I look unfiltered, right? So I look here and I look at these times, and these times very, very often give me a very good idea. Like 1 hour, 9 minutes, you know, 423 page views. That's a hard puzzle. That's probably one I can't do. 6 minutes, the odds of that being a puzzle that I can play are pretty good, right? So let's look at the 6-minute puzzle. Let me copy. No. I hate that. All right, let's just do that. Boom, right? So this is probably a relatively simple puzzle, right? And if we go back to the 1 hour, 9 minute puzzle, this is probably a relatively difficult puzzle, right? And if I look at some other metadata here, so let's see, 1,000 solves. Now this has fewer solves, but it could just be it could just be that this has less exposure, right? So let's look at License to Kill, which was 2NJ yada yada yada. So that's the 6-minute one, right? Yeah. So if we look at this puzzle, and we'll look at 7 days, right? So this was probably featured on this day, or at least it was published on this day, right? And we can see time on page, 9 minutes, you know. So it's 9 minutes on average for this puzzle, right? And if we look, I don't want to go back and forth. And if I go to Perseverance Maze, which I can barely even say, because I've probably been talking into this microphone for way too long. It was a W something, right? It's a WPA. This was the 1 hour, 9 minutes, right? Which I now don't see anymore. Where did it go? Oh, because it was on one day? No, I think it was just for today. If I go here, 1 hour, 9 minutes. Right. Yeah. So if we're looking at this one, and if I compare it to, what am I comparing here? I forgot what I'm comparing. This is a brand new, I was going to say brand new, but it has been solved in the past. So this is potentially a really old one. And it's just sort of, okay. So no, this was here. Okay, so let's see, last 30 days. Yeah, so this was released a while ago, right? And it peaked at 421. And I lost the other one, didn't I? If I go back to today, details. Sorry, I feel like I've lost myself in the weeds, right? Okay, so this is this puzzle, right? So we had 9 minutes, 1,000, 1.7 thousand, 1.3. So it actually has fewer solves, right? But time on page 51 minutes. Long story short, the solve time very, very well corresponds with difficulty. Now, obviously, like I, for example, I'm better than Simon at basic Sudoku, so certain puzzles I solve quicker than him. But I'm very bad at fancy logic, so those I'll be much slower at. But I have a very good idea of how hard I'll find a puzzle compared to the length of one of his videos. So the Simon video length is a difficulty standard that's very sort of universal and that's very easy to understand, right? What people forget is that this is aggregate data, right? This is only valuable once it reaches, 500 plus in the numbers, right? Because that removes all the outliers. So yeah, somebody forgetting to pause, stepping away is not going to affect this at all, right? It's 0.001% of an effect. And it's easy. You can just remove the lowest 5% and the top 5%, right? You get rid of the weird outliers. No, time is not the only criteria. But again, people forget about aggregate, right? Aggregation. So this has got to work on a puzzle that 2 people have played, or a puzzle that nobody has played, right? And that's why there will be... I want to definitely work very hard on... Like, we're too small. We cannot rely on, you know, what TikTok does or what YouTube does with just huge aggregations. Discovery of new puzzles is very important, right? So there definitely has to be something where... new puzzles get highlighted. There needs to be a list of top new puzzles. And the thing is, it's also how we're used to exploring puzzles. Right now, we're basically all focused on new puzzles because there's basically no easy way of going back over an archive of puzzles. There's a few places like Logic Master Germany and maybe something like James Sinclair's list or somebody's YouTube channel, right? But this is a tiny fraction of the 40, 50,000 puzzles I have on record now, right? Yeah, so like I've looked at this past and I've done some spreadsheets and I don't have them handy right now, but I basically looked at the distribution of solve times, right? So it's like the bell curve, right? So not just the average or whatever, but like, hey, is it wide? Is it narrow? And from the shapes of those, I think you can, you know, statistically, you know, and I don't know, right? This is something I'd like to punt over to the academics over time, but I think you can definitely... If not say if a puzzle is hard or easy, you can say if a puzzle is similarly hard to another puzzle in some way, right? And on top of that, you can say, okay, you know, you can do this per puzzle across all the people solving a puzzle. But you can also do this per solver across all the puzzles they've solved, right? And then hopefully what you can do is you can match their curves to the curves of puzzles and say, okay, for you, these puzzles are going to be easier and these are going to be harder, because in the past you found puzzles like that hard and puzzles like, you know, and it won't be 100%, but you know, neither will be a star rating. A 3-star puzzle will be sometimes easy, sometimes hard to you, right? But it should be a lot better than that. And this is not about a global chart of the difficulty of puzzles. That's not what it's about. It's about enjoyment for the solver, right? This is all about finding puzzles for the solver to solve. Like, I know I'm going to enjoy James Sinclair's puzzles because they're the right level of difficulty. I know I'm going to enjoy the gas puzzles because they're the right level of difficulty, you know? I'm playing my demo killers from the 5,000 killer puzzles that I play because there are my brain switch off puzzles that I can just play one after the other, right? So I'd love, like, and then every now and then I'll go into the puzzle testing, Sudoku testing submissions. And it's a gamble. Sometimes they'll be so hard and I won't get through them. Or blobs. Like blobs, I have a spreadsheet of blobs puzzles that I go through. And sometimes I really enjoy them, but they're kind of on the upper edge of what I enjoy in terms of difficulty. And then sometimes they're too hard for me, right? So I hope a system like that will be able to calibrate for somebody like me and get me more puzzles that I will enjoy. Yeah, and I hope it'll eventually be the other way around. Instead of me looking for people like you, like Bremster, and their YouTube channels to find good puzzles, I want people like you be able to go on the site and say, okay, give me puzzles that are underrated right now. Give me the top 100 underrated puzzles. You know, puzzles that maybe were released a long time ago and were good, but nobody knows about them now. Or puzzles that, you know, didn't make it because they weren't featured in a channel or whatever, you know, this sort of stuff, right? And that's the thing, like puzzles shouldn't just be on one dimension of difficulty. They should have a huge variety of difficulties, like what Liam mentioned here with the one-trick puzzles. There's going to be a lot of puzzles like that, right? And if you like them or not, it all depends on if you catch the trick or not, right? Like I noticed that sometimes for testing when I solve puzzles multiple times, and sometimes there's enough time between them that I still find them challenging. But once I recognize the one trick and I remember it, then suddenly I can solve it and I get more joy out of it. And that might also be a good place for a puzzle to have a hinting system, right? And that's the thing, right? Like suddenly we can say, okay, here's a list of puzzles that probably need hints, you know? Puzzle that should be easy, or puzzle, like if you have a puzzle where half the people solve it in 5 minutes and the other half solve it in an hour, it's probably likely a puzzle that could benefit from a better description or from a hint system or things like that. No, not redundant, more relevant. That's the thing, right? I think every puzzle eventually should have a video to it. You know, every puzzle above a level of quality, right? So there should be part of the puzzle pipeline. You know, a puzzle gets created, it gets tested, gets refined, it gets its text rewritten. As it goes through the stages of leveling up, maybe eventually it'll get a video made. Maybe eventually it gets fan art made, you know? That's what I'd love to see. I'd love to see every puzzle to sort of evolve into the best version of itself, right? And sometimes that best version might be a redo of the puzzle by the setter or by a different setter, where they take the same schema or the same idea and make a better version of it, right? Because they learned things since they did it. All right, so so the idea is if I run this, right? I should be able to get a breakdown. Okay, let me clean up this a little bit. So we do node query string. Do I have to implement something there? Do I really? Node URL. Can I not just use the URL documentation? URL search params, right? So can I just do and let's skip this for a sec. Let US equals new URL search params and is that the same API? If I do what does that get me? If I say let guy URL equals new URL, right? If I say Node.js URL, can I just add search params? Search params is a thingamajig there. Okay. So I should be able to so it's gonna be something like this, right? And then instead of doing this, if I say that, do that, that's basic toString, right? Okay. And then if I say API URL dot search params, the site ID equals SudokuPad.app. Like I'll do something like that. Search params. Search params. Come on. Search params. For each search params. Get all as is set. All right, set. Yeah, it's so tempting to try to use it like a JSON object, but of course it's not. Okay, so we should be able to do this. We should be able to do period 7D property event page. And we'll probably do this something like this. Const for const val, so let props equals, so I can do the conversion myself, right? I can just do this, site ID equals this, boom, period 7 days, property event page, because then we can do merges and we can have like defaults and all this stuff, right? And then we'll do this. And we'll do const of object. Please props set key down, right? And that'll fill everything in. Don't know if that encoding is gonna cause us problems. Let's hope not. Okay. And instead of doing this now, right, we can change this to URL, 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 don't need that. And then we can basically do that. Maybe not. Do we need something else? Breakdown. Fetch URL stats breakdown. Shipped. What's missing? Can I unencode that? What else is different here? .href maybe? Nope. If I do this and get rid of this little encoding thing here, am I gonna fix it? Nope. Okay. What am I doing different here? Compared to this one? I wasn't outputting the result, wasn't I? God damn it. I'm such a doofus. I just wasn't outputting the result. Yeah, okay, alright. So I should be able to just pass in URL, right? That should just work. Yeah. Alright. I know, Brimster, I know. Alright, so don't need that anymore. Don't need that. Can I change this after the fact? If I do, like, if I just output URL, there should be a path name. And if I say URL.path name plus equals that. Now, I don't know if I can manipulate the path name after the fact. I can. Okay. So we can just do that. Right, and then we can do something like we can do something like const call API, and then what did they call that first thing? What do they call it? Endpoints. So we can do equals async endpoint props boom, right? All right, and then we'll do something like this, and we'll do something like const and const API URL this API base URL. We'll do that, and then we'll do these things. Endpoint URL search params, and then we'll just do that. We can just return that. Return. Wait. We'll just take this .json like that, and we just return that. So now we can just do await call API breakdown, and then just this boom boom, and then we don't need any of that, right? So in theory, now this should be able to get us a list of puzzles that we can then convert into a set of requests. And we'll obviously have to say, okay, we'll do the top 10, or we'll do it daily, or whatever, or hourly, or something. We don't do them all at once, right? So let's grab one of these as an example, and let's just do a second one. And then I'm gonna call it a day because my body wants some attention. So what's the thing then? Time series, right? And for the time series, we now want to do what? We'll do site ID still, 7 days still. Time series, and then I think we did a filter, right? Or did we? We'll do a filter on that thing. Filters, properties, filtering. So we should be able to do event page equals, right? So we'll do filters, and then it should be event page filtering. Event page equal that. If we do this, then we get that. Now, if we also throw in this, and how do we munge them together? In expression, visit source is GitHub or Twitter. Not equal, and expression. Complete goal sign up, and okay, so we should be able to do this and that. So if we go for all the puzzles liked, so for example, this would give us likes, but in theory, we probably need the unliked as well, so we can do a like percentage, right? The thing is, we'd have to do it per puzzle. And there's probably a lot of different puzzles each day. And that's the thing. That's what the API is not good at telling us, right? And I might have to do 1,000 requests, right? If there's 1,000 different puzzles. I mean, 40,000 people, maybe not 1,000, but potentially a lot, right? Can we find out? Now I want to know. And I don't think, yeah, I think we can get rid of this. I'm just gonna remove that import as well. I don't think we need it. It wasn't very good. So if we go back to here, and instead of limiting it to that, is that gonna give us a huge number? Okay, so I've hit this before, and then I just did multiple requests, right? So, but if we say 1 day, or if we go get just a little bit more time periods, here we go. If we say custom, yeah. Problem with custom is I don't think it'll give me per like our full day specified in date, time periods. So if we say day and nothing else, what will it give us? 900 more items. So if we do something like let res equal, and then we'll do res.results.length, that should give us 1,000, right? Yeah. So there's over 1,000 different URLs every day. That's the problem, right? Now do I do 1,000 separate requests? And I think in these scripts here, that's kind of what I did. Yeah, I do 1,000 and then grab, but and then I map them. Did I really do that? No. Oh no, I didn't map 1,000, right? Besides limit, I think there's also start from. You have a rate of limit of 600 requests per hour by default. Yeah, that's the other thing, right? This API is rate limited. It's so silly. While their dashboard isn't. So the sort of things I was doing, I could only do through the dashboard, which was hilarious. get more than 1,000. You can make multiple requests and paginate the result. Okay, so page, we'll do that, and then page equals 2. And now we get 1,000 still. Right. And then page 3, we get 1,000 still. Page 4, 1,000 still. Page 5. All right. So that's just for one day. We have 4,795 different puzzles hit in one day. Wow, that's a lot more than I thought. Like, I know I have around 35 to 45,000 solvers every day, but that they're actually solving almost 5,000 different unique puzzles. Although, of course, some of them might be, you know, duplicated short IDs and all this sort of stuff. So now with the PuzzleDB, I can run it through all of that. But like here, we're looking at 44, 32, 34, 38, 43. So it's, yeah, it's a rough 44,000, around 40,000 a day. That's the number I tend to go with. But so many unique pages. Holy moly. And there's no way of doing this easily from here, right? Yeah. Anyway, I'm trying to think. So, I have the mechanics of getting that data now. The question is, what data do I want to get now, right? I guess what I could do is, like, if I do something like the query we did earlier, where we said, okay, we'll, where is that spreadsheet? Where did I put it? Is it in here? Nope. Nope. Did I close it? No, I didn't close it, did I? Did I put it over there? No. It's not here. Where might I have put it? Is it this one? I think it's this one. All right. What I could do is, like, only do it for the first couple, right? Ah, no, wait. This is not the one we just made. This is one I made a while ago before I had access to the counters. Definitely not this one. Ah, where did I put that? Sorry, I'm very scatterbrained. Yeah. Ah, all right. So the question is, what data do we want to attend? Did I just close it? I'm sorry. This is just. Oh, here it is. Ah, here it is. Found it. Okay. Oh, I had another page. All right, that explains it. So the idea is now to go through. Well, that's the thing. That's per puzzle. Can I do it per author? Because there's fewer authors than there are puzzles. Is it done by IP or combo? What? Right now, I'm not sure what you're referring to. This isn't doing any of that sort of thing. Ah, do you mean the plausible data? I don't actually know, because it doesn't use cookies, right? So it doesn't. The unique users aren't as. I don't know what they do actually internally. They probably have some sort of algorithm. Back in the olden days, I used to use a combination of user agent and IP, because while there's lots of similar user agents, like there's lots of minor variations in them. Like even if one person is updated on Chrome, the other isn't, and so on. So the combination of IP and user agent would help with in cases where the IP was, you know, collective for a large number of users, that kind of thing. I don't really know what their specific thing is, their specific methodology is, right? I'd like to run it in-house and see, or compare it to my logs and stuff. But man, I'm already looking at so many things. I can also obviously compare it to Google Analytics, which do use cookies, so they have user IDs and such, but they're also blocked by ad blockers, which these guys aren't. So you lose like half of the traffic basically, right? All right, so the last breakdown I wanted to check was if I can filter something by yeah. Now the authors are in the properties, and I don't know if I can filter by property. Property. Because these aren't properties. Customer has some very defined properties associated with it. Now that links to the often referred as dimensions. So properties can be used for maybe. Maybe. Customer in addition to collected automatically. Query for custom properties. To filter breakdown by customer, use the key event props. So if I say event props MSG, for example, 0 undefined. Wait, no, that won't work. Event props for custom properties. Example of how to use it. Custom property. Event goal download. Event props method. Property. Event props method. Now, is this is a breakdown as well? Props method. Because message is what's used for error messages. Maybe not the right property to look at. Event props title. Okay. So if we now filter by the question is, can I filter by maybe. If I say filter event props author, right? And we were looking at this stuff before. Let's say Philip Newman, right? And if I do this, do I only get Philip Newman puzzles? I don't know where this came from. Like that. Event props. Boom. If I do this, reading length. 7. Oh, I'm also looking at page 5. That's probably a problem if there aren't 5 pages. Hey, here we go. All right. Can I get more than one property out of it? I don't know. So this is under breakdown. Can I have property visit source metrics? Metrics. Breakdown multiple properties at the same time. Currently, it's only possible to break down on one property at a time using a list of properties. One query is not supported. So if you want to break down by both page and source, for example, you would have to make multiple queries, break down on one property and filter on another, then manually programmatically group the results together. Yeah. Every page you would want to break down on event page, make multiple queries for each date. For simple time breakdown, have a look at time series endpoint. All right. If I metrics, come a separate list of metrics to show for each item in see list of available metrics. Now, do the metrics involve custom properties? The number of events, page with customer events, filtered by this metric is presented to the dashboard. Conversion rate, time on page, views per visit, page views, visits. No, okay. So right now, this gets me the titles of the puzzles that match this filter. And I wanted to combine that with this. How? I don't remember. Let's solve and record and set on very different configs. 1 or 4. 1 or 4. 104 what? I think you were probably talking when I was talking about how to identify unique visitors earlier. So this gives me a breakdown of something of the visitors per puzzle. Yeah. So in terms of talking about signal, right? These are solves, but I could break this down into attempts as well. So if I don't do it this way, and if my period is larger, so is there a time period for all time? So let's say 6 months, right? If I do this, so I'm filtering by an author, and I don't actually care about the property, but I think without that, I won't get a breakdown, right? Yeah. I'll actually get a time series instead. So if we do this, right? So if we do this instead, and we'll bring this filter over here, and we'll bring this over here, and I'll do 20. It should be just one result, right? Ah, no, it'll be a monthly breakdown, right? Yeah. Ah, okay. That's pretty close to giving me a total number, right? I can just add these up, and that would be the total number of page views with the author Philip Newman on them. Right. So now we could also filter by filter goal is puzzle start. Right. So if we filter by goal puzzle start, like this, puzzle start, that should get us the count of attempted puzzles. Filter puzzle start. Res is not defined. Oh. That's res. Wait, what? Res.results slice 0.20. Yeah, we don't actually need that. Right. Okay. So this should be all puzzle start events, and if I compare it to the earlier numbers, they should be smaller. Yes. Okay. So that should be the number of puzzle start events since the start of time for this one person, right? And we can just just stick them here for a sec. Get rid of this stuff. Oop. Right, and we'll just calculate that. So that's 134,000 puzzle start events for Philip Newman. If I put that here, 134,000 compared to 1.2 million counts. So that, okay, now the problem is that's obviously all times, while this is only since Plausible is running. And that's the dimension we're adding here. So we could have another bit of data saying, hey, the last 7 days or something. Being able to see if stuff for my puzzle collapse would be insane fun. But just make me paranoid, I think. Yeah, sorry, hard to add context with space. Yeah. So one thing, because I keep thinking about, okay, how do I distinguish puzzles that are active from puzzles that aren't? And things like, you know, played recently. Because I'm still, one of the major issues will be to kind of get rid of puzzles that are bad data, basically, right? And sometimes they're zombies. They stick around because they're linked somewhere and people keep going to them, right? And I'd love to be able to redirect them to the better version of a puzzle. And things like recent activity. If there's multiple copies of a puzzle with the same title, where by the same author, where one of them has thousands of hits in the last 3 months and the other one has had very few hits over the last couple of months, then the one with thousands of hits is probably the more active one. You know, maybe a new version, maybe a corrected version, and so on and so forth, you know. So we can do something like Bremster. Now, the other question is, like, how many different authors are there that have Bremster in them, right? If I go to here and I go to puzzle info and I'll say author regex Bremster, and then I'll say options lowercase and sensitive. So that gets us 237 different puzzles that have Bremster in the author. Now, it could be pure Bremster, or it could be Bremster or Bremster as part of something else, right? Now, what's unique in puzzle info, I think, is unique by the puzzle data itself. There should be about 8. What do you mean, 8 puzzles? Surely you have done more than 8 puzzles. Happy birthday, Dad. There's a lot of happy birthday ones. Hot dogs. Psycho Killer. Lots of Psycho Killer. But you see, for example, title Psycho Killer 03. So the same title twice. The same counter ID. But you see, this version has a solution. So this is what I'm talking about, quality, right? So this probably is the correct version, and this is probably an earlier version without the thing. And this has 2 short IDs, probably created while working on it or something, and this has 1. Oh, 8 different setter name combos. Oh, all right. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly the sort of stuff I want to be able to kind of look into. So, for example, what if we say author that and author not equal to Bremster? So basically all the variants only. And I think I need to do an and like that, I believe. I think. Unknown operator and. Oops. MongoDB and unknown operator and known operator $and. Replace the query with query. Words together, say the query is different to query. Oh. Author and plain unknown operator and. It doesn't like the and at all. Maybe it has to be on the outside. Operator and. Oh, annoying. Compound. Operator and. Well, this seems to come up a lot. All right, let me do this here. So I feel like I'm misunderstanding how and is supposed to be used. No, they have the and on the outside. And is a... Oh, okay, wait. These need to be wrapped individually. So, this, right? Then author is not equal to Gramster. Both of these need to be true. Right. That's the end of the array, and that's the end of the and. Okay, let's try that. There we go. All right. So here we go. Bremster, full diagnostic for cards, Bremster Maggie. Okay, Bremster. So we can find that information, and there's 56, but there's 56 puzzles with that. So obviously there's lots of duplications on these. Yeah, it's this is just raw data, right? I'm dealing with that. And that's the thing, right? Like, that's why I have this. I want to... Now I'm kind of cleaning up the puzzle data. But then eventually I want to have a setter database. And I say, okay, this puzzle is associated with the setter Bremster, but it's also associated with the setter Maggie, right? And that's the other thing, right? So it's kind of the identity of a puzzle. What is a puzzle, right? So, for example, puzzles with the same title are often the same puzzle. But not always, right? Puzzles with the same author and title are much more likely to be the same puzzle. And ultimately, I want to look at the data itself. Like, I want to be able to say, hey, if the only difference between one puzzle and the other is a solution, I know that definitely the same puzzle, right? And personally, I want to keep high quality puzzles. So I'll probably try to get rid of the ones without a solution then, but I'll probably have to have some sort of like way for setters to say, no, I want to keep that one. So basically, it'll probably be something like, hey, setter, we found these puzzles which we think are the same. Do you want to merge them, right? Can we delete these early versions of the puzzle that nobody's looked at in 6 months, right? That kind of stuff. All right, it is 1:30. I definitely need to go take care of my body a little bit, food and other things. How long was the stream today? Let's have a quick look over on Twitch. 3.5 hours. That's actually, I'm happy with that. So we've done most of what I wanted to do. We haven't actually integrated the plausible data yet. To be honest, I feel like I ran a bit out of steam now, trying to kind of think about what exactly I meant to be doing with it. I think I can get rid of this as well. This isn't being used, so we can get rid of that too. This should be enough examples to kind of let me get started again next time. But I also don't want to get too deep into the weeds. Like, I want to start using the data I already have. And the point is not just using the data, that'll be the end result, but the point is to actually start storing and using it on the server, because obviously I can pull data out of here much faster than 92,000 different individual files, right? So that's the other thing, right? I'm running into a bit of trouble, like, it's 240 megabytes of cache data, and it's 30 seconds of processing every time I want to restart the server and all these sorts of things. Well, in a database, it's basically instantaneous, right? And I can remotely access it. I can update puzzles remotely very easily without uploading files and all this gibberish, right? So I definitely would like to move to this database. I think I have MongoDB running on the server anyways. But I need to also remember exactly where I'm using data, because there's the API. The API is a completely different endpoint, a different piece of system, but it should be using the database as well for the counters, and I have to kind of look. It's some old code, so I have to look how it does that. All right. In the meantime, thanks for hanging out. Now I have to get back to doing the work that I'm actually supposed to be doing the last 2 weeks, and that I've barely even started because I'm doing so many other things. Which is, I need to meet with the gas team, make a plan for the app, and I need to look at the emails about the ads, and I need to talk to my accountant and my bank about my taxes that I haven't done in 3 years, and hopefully nobody will kill me.
Anyway, thanks for hanging out, guys. Take care, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.